You still have things like the Trundle still ready and rocking to go.
I fear, however, that if you are not banning the Rise away from Doinb, you are planning on picking it very early on in the draft, perhaps first pick, to make sure that he's not going to be able to get his hands on that. It's generally been the strategy against the player that really revolutionized how this champion was played, and just always is going to be a big problem on it. So going over to Saber, not necessarily the high-level, high-intensity assassin play that we were hoping for him, but he's also looked okay on this Rise.
Sion is banned. I wonder where and what they're kind of prioritizing. Kind of screams to me that they want to try to get either the Mbessa or maybe even a Yorick later on, but it seems like the Mbessa is going to be the first one to come on through. So could make your way into a dive comp, but does mean that your range is going to be a little bit shorter. With the Galio, almost feels like we're going to be pushing ourselves into that kind of composition, which Rise loves to play in shorter quarters.
Doinb back to a facilitator, which not going to be necessarily the Orianna, but something that can have a lot of high impact here in these games. Junhao, Wukong will be the selection for him. Very just high priority champion at this point, going down the tier list as we are now in game number 2 of Fearless. And I would imagine a top lane pick to round things out here for Ultra Prime. Renekton's generally been a pretty decent pick into the Mbessa and something that Zhang definitely can play. Aatrox, another champion that Zhang does have some good experiences on.
Something that we'll have to get into as this game goes on is thinking about, for Ultra Prime, you have a lot of damage actually coming on through, and for your bottom lane, you can go a lot of options that play a bit away from what NIP are looking towards. Honestly, in my opinion, a Xayah or an Ezreal for Baiye turns into a very, very dangerous champion to deal with. So NIP, you'll have some damage there to kind of set up. I'm really looking at how our supports can interact in this game.
Round out the first rotation of the pick ban phase with that Viego going towards Naiyou. This was something that he played in game number 3 alongside the Galio and the Mbessa actually, so the full top side actually staying consistent in NIP's game 3 win over Ultra Prime just a couple of weeks ago. Naiyou had a great game on that one, but we'll see if the bot lanes do prove to be a little bit different as we enter that second draft phase. Again, Leave getting targeted for his Kai'Sa. The Smolder was what was paired alongside this top side of the map. Would be curious to see if they try to just do the full run back this time around.
Alistar, in my mind, becomes very high priority as a champion that stops champions like the Wukong and the Aatrox. And they're going to need a champion that actually deals with Zhang very well this game, because otherwise, I'm looking at a composition from NIP that doesn't actually have all that much damage. You're more likely to get at least one of these picks, but as the game goes on, think about how much HP these 3 champions from Ultra Prime that are showing are going to have. It'll be very difficult for them to continue the fight. So for NIP, what are your options? I said that Ezreal and Xayah were kind of popping up. They banned the Xayah. I don't think this is a Sivir game. She does not get any space to actually deal damage. If you're going to pick any kind of leave it alone AD carry, I would have preferred Jhin here.
And now creating a situation where Leave's going to have to do a lot of that damage, on the back line, but can definitely get focused down by the likes of a Wukong. Having the 2 procs of the Cyclone means that just the 1 spell shield is not going to cut it. So we head to see what Ultra Prime want to lock in for their bot lane as well. Aphelios going to be the answer here into the Sivir, get a little bit of that extra range. Now XiaoXia is going to get a chance to match something up alongside it. Something like a Lulu might make some sense, or just going for some full engage. An extra go button like the Nautilus never hurts.
That's not a Lulu. That's very different from a Lulu, actually.
Very different, yeah.
Nautilus is very OP here. You have 3 members that are going to be in melee range of you. Your ultimate is going to get a lot of value, and I don't think Leona is it. Leona has spot engage, but can be buffered by the Nautilus. I think we're going to game 3 here, Grapes. I know it's very early, but you have the range from the Aphelios to deal with anything that NIP throw at you. NIP need fights to be short. They cannot allow these fights to go long.
And already, a lot of the things that we had concerns with on Ultra Prime's draft of game number 1 have been remedied this time around. They have that go button in multiple different pieces, most notably XiaoXia on the Nautilus, although you could throw Junhao in there as well. And then in terms of last game, having a bunch of losing lanes, I feel like in general, Zhang's going to feel pretty comfortable here. Saber at least will have the range versus melee aspect of this rise into the Galio, and think in general, feeling much better for Junhao to find opportunities to look for ganks.
And this will be really interesting to see how Ultra Prime play around their solo lanes, because Jung and Saber have been some of the better performing members of Ultra Prime when we think of other series. But in this game in particular, they're going to have kind of the burden of execution and the ability to really make or break this game with this Ryze and the Aatrox.
Ryze and Aatrox into basically 4 melee champions. You can count whatever Viego is with the transformed souls and everything like that. A very high value this game. They're going to be able to dish out a lot of damage. You can add the Aphelios in there as well. Ultra Prime have a lot at their disposal when it comes to the full 5v5 team fighting and the ability to dish out damage to the beefier squad of NIP. But Ninja the Pyjamas, they've got comfort. They've got Naiyou on a pick that he did very well on the last time these two teams faced off, as they look for yet another 2-0 in Group Nirvana to try to push themselves towards the top of the standings here going into that play-in stage.
That's tough. That's tough.
One guy that's a big Ultra Prime fan, and you know what? I can respect that. We are in Shenzhen, as you saw by the animation, which is the home of NIP, obviously, so makes sense that there's a couple more fans here for the home squad.
So, as we continue on in this game and as we look forward, NIP winning today has some implications as we go further into split. With them, if they win, they would move up to 6-1, which means that they are now locked in for the play-in stage of the grand finals, or what would be our split 3 playoffs, as they would have only 3 games left, meaning that they would not be able to fall anywhere super far down in terms of the standings, which I think is really, really good for this team. Again, wanting to make up for what was a very disappointing split 2 end, falling to FPX.
Yeah, and you know, we talk about NIP being a solid team here in Group Nirvana, but when you looked at the roster, and especially what they were able to do in Split 1, being in Group Nirvana was never really a part of the conversation. It was, hey, can we take this further than that? Can NIP even go to Worlds? And clearly expectations have changed, but you know, for this team, it is not just making it to the play-in stage that would deem their season a success. It is much more than that for this organization.
Already seeing some early trading here. When you are Sivir, you are allowed to fight in the minion wave, which usually is a big no-no. Thankfully for Ultra Prime, Baiye does have some ability to actually fight early game with the Crescendo with that red gun. So actually seeing a little bit of a move here from Doinb. He's going to lose a large portion of his HP versus Saber, but this means that Ultra Prime do get spotted moving the Wukong into top side. And I'm looking at this top lane wave. I don't think they're diving. I thought maybe there could be some angle here with how the wave was looking, but this is going to be pushing back, so maybe they'll be looking to catch Solokill in one of his summoner spells on the bounce back.
Top lane, early dives, unless you're like in a 4v1, I feel like, are very difficult, especially with the way the game's at right now. So Solokill is going to be able to keep himself healthy, but again, this is a matchup that Jung wanted to play into the Ambessa, that being the Aatrox, so already having himself a pretty good go of things for now. And again, a very different situation than that 1v1 matchup was looking like in game number 1, where Solokill and the Aurora had a very good time into Jung. We're now seeing Saber getting focused down, a very respectable flash. Make sure he does not get locked up by that taunt.
And the wave's going to be pushing away from him. You can see immediately Saber's going to move in. Puts a ward on his top side. I don't think this really matters when you know Viego's on the bottom side of the map, so maybe in 2 minutes time that'll be a bit more relevant. And this will just be the trade of Scuttles. Solokill has to be careful because the wave is pushing away from him, and Viego can be kinda, or Viego, the Wukong can be pretty tricky with how he plays around Fog of War.
You can use the W to like sneak into the vision. You don't get spotted until way after the fact, and so that could potentially throw somebody like Solokill off guard. However, as we see some of these resets come through, it looks like NIP don't want to play things super standard. They want to try to maybe get Solokill out of this 1v1 lane.
Already making a lane swap. This is fine. You're allowed to do this when you're playing versus a Sivir. I wonder if Ultra Prime are going to keep up the swap, though, because For the time being, it'll just kind of force Jung to use his teleport and leave by going the call. He knows this is going to be a longer game. Both of our AD carries have picked up this item. We're going to be here for a little bit.
Hey, that's fine with me because these teams like the team fight. The champions like the team fight, so that means we're going to get some explosive business with, hopefully, both of these teams in decently close game states in terms of gold monetization. So that is going to be fun as long as, of course, we don't see some of those flaws that we have seen from Ultra Prime this season flare up again, which is just getting picked out before major objectives spawn. So far, they've done a good job at avoiding that, but there hasn't been a lot of objectives to fight over yet, as now just the first one of them have spawned in that dragon on the bottom side.
Look how problematic, though, it is. You have a Saber on one side of the map. Now you got to be careful. That lands, but it's not good enough.
Junhao does unlock level 5 by stealing away those wolves, but XiaoXia just walking too far. Going to get flashed after by Naiyou. One more Q would have done it unless he popped the heal in time. But the Justice Punch going to land on the Junhao. Doinb now with the flash away. Saber looking to close the job out, and Baiye will jump in to pick up first blood, but it'll go down in the trade as Naiyou will make it a 1-for-1. And now the chase can continue. A stolen away stun lands onto Saber. And now NIP looking to continue the aggression. Another 1-for-1 overall as they're going to keep diving that tier 1 turret. It's a triple kill picked up for Naiyou. And NIP are eating good in game 2.
We are 6 minutes in and there are 5 kills already. 3 of them onto this Viego. The game pace that Ninjas in Pyjamas needed to have if they wanted this game to not go the way of Ultra Prime. Early start on the invade, thanks to them having the Saber. This is a massive wave that Baiye is not allowed to miss. And while all of this is happening, Saber, he gets access to his ultimate, which means he does a little bit more damage, but it doesn't matter. Look at how much crowd control they have onto Junhao. He doesn't have his ultimate. There's no ability for him to fight back in this.
And Baiye, another interesting positioning mechanics, trying to finish off that kill, but just instantly gets deleted. And then you can see here, actually I think it was Niket that just landed that stun.
Yeah, that's a visual. I think it's a visual indicator there. That one did not look like that was anywhere close to landing.
And we saw this happen in game number 3 against Ultra Prime and NIP. Naiyou getting ahead early. I think he ended the game like 10-1 on this Viego pick. Can do a lot of stuff on this champion, already working towards that first item, Kraken Slayer, getting very dangerously close to it. Guy that, of course, is a new addition, replacing Aki on this roster. Had a great split on LGD last time around.
Oh no.
Being a big difference maker here for NIP this split.
Baiye, you have to back up here, brother. You have to back up. You have no vision. You're the only one up, and he has flash. Does Niket look for it? Has the exhaust to be able to make something happen? This is Ultra Prime.
The stun connects, the exhaust too, but there's not enough damage after that, so Baiye will be able to get on out without having to burn a flash.
I was going to say, this is Ultra Prime now having a timer to go for the dragon. They've invested 2 players up in here, and while Doinb will have the ultimate, he's going to be resetting, and he can very quickly come back out and answer on the bottom side. So Ultra Prime are going to take this time, get some more jungle camps for themselves, and it's a very scary position to be in. Maybe this is just opening up for Niket, who does have this unsealed spellbook, so was actually opting for maybe trading one of his summoner spells and just using it, whereas XiaoXia only has the Aftershock.
See how much that utility does come into play here for Niket, the ability to swap around those spells a little bit more, maybe adding some extra combat power now with that ignite, as the grubs have been started by Ultra Prime. Naiyou, though, in the area. Definitely the stronger champion between him and Junhao at this point, so will be pretty easy for them to bully Ultra Prime away, especially if some reinforcements arrive.
As the Galileo ultimate, Niket is going to be here now. There should be 1 grub going over to NIP if they want it, but there's too much entrenched in. Some of the front line is too scattered away, so they have to buy a little bit more time. Another move wave pushed by Leave means that it will be that grub going over Ninjas in Pyjamas. And I don't think that NIP really wanted to find a fight there. They're in between some of their items. Naiyou probably wants to steal away at least 1.5, 2 camps here so he can get that Trinity Force online. And they are moving immediately, dropping these waves first to play.
Just non-stop aggression here in the jungle for NIP. Constantly trying to steal away some camps, and they're going to look for another fight here. The Moonlight Vigil, though, comes out from Baiye, but Doinb has arrived with a hero's entrance. Already taken down to XiaoXia. Baiye, though, now has to flash away from the dredge line of Naiyou. And he'll be able to get back out of there with the Heartbreaker, but NIP find another kill onto their jungler.
It might be Viego's ultimate, but it's really what's been happening to Ultra Prime. It's just heartbreak constantly. Another fight that ends up going over to them. And instead, it's not the Trinity Force. I should have known when I saw the Rectrix or the Heartbound Axe in his inventory. It's going to be the Kraken Slayer now completed for this Viego. That was the Flash now gone from Baiye. So with Dragon still up, the next 4 minutes are going to be really, really tough. Niket's halfway to level 6 now. And that is going to be a guaranteed summoner spell at the very least versus Aphelios.
Yeah, as we see here, Naiyou on the Viego has had a lot of good performances here against Ultra Prime in game number 3. Last time they faced off, didn't get it exactly right. It wasn't 10-1. It was actually a little bit better. It was 11-1, 13 assists to boot as well, and he's well on his way into game number 2 of this series, being very much just a pest in Junhao's jungle, not letting him get a chance to do anything peacefully, just constantly going for these fights.
One of these champions is Saber, the other one is Aphelios. So it's way easier for NIP to move. They've been doing it constantly. And I thought maybe with having the Rise here that you'd be able to combat and match some of the push coming in from Doinb. And that might be the case. That might continue to be the case once he gets and finishes his first item. But as is right now, what is Junhao to do when he looks mid and he's like, okay, well, my AD carry's catching wave, and there's not really much for him to do. The wave's already clear, and Baiye is only halfway done.
Yeah, leave up 20 full CS at this point. You see the acceleration on that call that was purchased a little bit earlier on in the game. Leave almost at full completion of that one there, getting all those stacks, getting that extra gold. As NIP only up about 1,000 gold, but it feels like their composition right now is spiking just with the fact that Naiyou has that full Kraken Slayer and is just continuously unrelenting in terms of the play that he's going for.
They know that Saber wants to step up under this wave and that they can make this dive if they decide to have it. Doinb's making his move over. They're shifting over Solokill. And Jog does not have teleport for this play. So if there is something that's going to happen, NIP need to be able to pull the trigger within the next few moments.
Oh, Junhao not patient enough and gets hit up by a couple of abilities, but actually using that clone very nicely to dodge any of the main primary crowd control. It was both ultimates used by the NIP bot lane, but they won't get a kill off of any perspective dive.
What's problematic here now for Ninja's Pyjamas is now we have to just go back. There's not too many camps here for Naiyou to take. I think all in all, it's been a decent enough defense for Junhao's camps. And Baiye is still looking for his first item. It's going to be the Collector, so he won't really have enough of that really punchy damage that we're maybe expecting from Aphelios later on. He's going to have a really hard level first item spike, and then second item, depending on what it is, we're looking towards an Infinity Edge. I wish we had access to more deeper stats, because I would actually like to see if he's doing lethality max on this Aphelios.
And talk about being a nuisance again. It's Junhao just getting continuously focused down. Everyone going right after this Wukong and taking the Monkey King down as Naiyou gets kill number 5. And looks like more is on the menu here for NIP. Full 5 members on the bot side of the map with a wave crashing in. And things look bleak right now for Zhong and XiaoXia. Naiyou popping the Black Mist, now going forward in onto XiaoXia. Solokill will pick this one up. And Doinb comes in with a hero's entrance for good measure. Will be a 1 kill taken back onto Niket. But NIP take that every single day of the week as they win yet another fight.
It's gold onto Naiyou, but for Ultra Prime, some of the more important members getting gold for themselves is nice. Leave doesn't even get a large portion of this. He has to split turret plate gold with Solokill and the rest of NIP. Whereas during all of this, Baiye got a wave in mid and a turret plate. Same thing to be said here for Saber, so it looks tough, especially with how much gold Naiyou currently has. He's a full level up on his opponent in the jungle, which is a really big lead for him. But if you're Ultra Prime, you want this game to go late anyway. They didn't grab the full turret. There are some silver linings here.
But not many at this point, especially now you got to deal with a 6-0 Viego who is just getting stronger and stronger by the minute. And Ultra Prime have the scaling. They have a Rise who just picks up a Roa. They have a Felius. They have an Aatrox who can do a lot in these team fights. But remember, we mentioned that we want these 5v5s to happen in even game states. And right now, NIP making sure that Ultra Prime don't find themselves in even game state.
Yeah, I would say having a 6-1 Viego does that. That's pretty good. Maybe there's a play on the bottom side of the map. We have Dragon spawning in a minute, and for a team that has 2 grubs, we have not really been able to see Ultra Prime take advantage of these structures now, seeming like they want to try to find the inside track and play off of Saber's priority. Maybe they're even looking to steal away a camp, trying to get some justice here for Junhao. Not going to be the case here so far in this game. And for Ninja's Bahamas, it is so easy for them to rotate. They have so many different ways of putting people in certain lane allocations, the movement speed that's afforded to them in multiple different avenues as well. Now a second completed item, the Kempug Chainsword here for Viego.
Nice
he is going to have a lot of stats here at 15 minutes and 2 items is insane.
I mean, we used to see this item get like purchased really early by certain champions back when it was tuned one way, certain way, but not a very popular one at this point. I guess you're just trying to negate some of the big healing that could come through on the Aatrox specifically here on Naiyou's side. So a little bit of extra utility here as Naiyou is very far ahead, so has the luxury to pick up items like this at this point as NIP going to start up this Rift Trail.
But now Ultra Prime are late. Why are we even on this top side of the map? They're maybe expecting that Ninja's Pyjamas are going to be setting up for a dive, but now with the pinks coming out, we're pathing towards bottom side. Ninjas of Pyjamas, they get Herald, they can move this into mid, take your turret, get yourselves the feats of strength, and then there's a dragon. They're teleporting for this. This is a huge win for NIP.
Yeah, I mean, kind of getting that for free, and you know, normally there's a response on the other side of the map, but Doinb actually teleports down to the bot lane. It'll be NIP not only getting themselves the Herald that they proc mid, but they're going to get even more. They're going to get that bot lane tier 1 and maybe even the mid lane tier 1 too, with Niket crashing in and just overloading the mid lane.
Yeah, we're going for more. Solokill has to answer top. He'll have TP. They're going to charge it into mid lane. Baiye has half HP, which does, you know, worry me a little bit, but Ninjas of Pyjamas come out huge, and this is the map play that we saw from them in game number 1. Trading turrets on sides of the map so they can make sure that they're up on gold. Giving over some of those objectives, but now they get to have their cake and eat it too.
Now we did mention Ultra Prime. The solo laners would have to step up in the series in this game, and they're the ones who actually do have some advantages for themselves. Solokill spending a lot of time just roaming around the map with the rest of his team, giving Zhang a lot of time to farm for himself. He has himself that 30 CS lead, as well as picking up the majority of that gold for that first tower taken for UP up on the top side. And Saber starting to scale a little bit as well. These guys are going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting if Ultra Prime are going to stay alive in this series.
Otacons in 2.5 minutes. I don't know if they have the gold for it if you're Ultra Prime, because you look at Saber, he has still 7 minutes before his Rod of Ages is complete, and he's nowhere near close to finishing what is a Seraph's Embrace. His pick on a Doinb might help though, but he has no shutdown. That's just his flash. Yeah, that's the unfun part about this game now. Is there's too much HP on some of the members that you would try to make a pick for, and I don't know if Ultra Prime have the damage to try to get away with some of this.
They're gonna just let Doinb get away for free, and now NIP have a chance to make a play towards the top side of the map. Remember, Zhang had themselves that farm advantage. Well, that's gonna quickly get erased here if this tower gets taken down by Ninjas in Pyjamas. Looks like UP getting some sort of trade on the bot side of the map, but overall NIP pretty happy about how things are going at this point in the game. Not a lot of major objectives to fight for, so just making sure you're trading gold on the members who need it, as Solokill gonna get a nice influx of cash.
How depressing is this, by the way, as Junhao? You went bottom side, you got yourself a turret, Naiyou went top, got the turret, and then he was like, you know what, I have the timer on your respawn Gromp anyway. I'm gonna take it again. So more jungle camps starting to get sapped away, and a lot of gold here for Ninjas Pyjamas. It's 2,500 gold, but the experience is going to start to creep on through, and especially for how having all of these tier 1s down, it is going to be much easier for Ninjas Pyjamas to preemptively get vision on the bottom side of the map and prep themselves to start stealing more camps away. It's a 30 CS lead for our junglers. That's like 6 camps there.
And we've talked about Junhao as being a very consistent player on this Ultra Prime roster. Somebody who, even from split 2 and 1, had pretty solid moments throughout the split. Right now it's Naiyou having the better end of things against him. However, as I say that, he comes in and one-shots Niket to pick up the first kill of this fight around the mid lane. Teleport comes in from Solokill, but he gets instantly targeted and shut down by Baiye. 2-0 in favor of UP so far. And those a lot of shurikens on that Aphelios as Ultra Prime looking to continue the chase. Saber does not have the range to go for a rune prison, and so NIP will get out with the 3 of their members still alive.
A cruel twist of fate. 10 seconds before the Otacon. Ultra Prime, you have teleport on Jung. Walk towards this objective. Why are we not looking to push the tempo of the game? Solokill does not have teleport for the next 10 seconds. That should have been their numbers advantage, but they decide against it. Niket thinking that there's no one in this area, and he gets punished for it. This is Ninjas of Pyjamas overreaching in mid lane, and this honestly should be where Ultra Prime try to turn the game, because this does not get easier as the game goes on.
Gets easier in the sense that now Baiye gets a little bit of extra gold and now has that full Infinity Edge, but now the Otacon that might have had the opportunity to be started by Ultra Prime being procced to half HP by NIP, forcing a ton of those global summoner spells off of Ultra Prime's hands. No teleports now on the solo laners. They have to go for the full 5v5, but now it's Doinb letting a 2-man taunt, stunning up Zhang before he gets a chance to do anything and taken down by Leave. A 1-0 so far. Solo kill with the poke execution onto Junhao, but a nice kite away with the depth charge of XiaoXia is going to keep his jungler alive, but NIP, now with the numbers advantage, can go right back to the objective.
It's so tough to answer back into these fights, and they did have ultimates, but no Cyclone here for Junhao means we need to be waiting. We need to bide our time here. Otacon's going to go over to NIP, and what else can Ultra Prime get on the opposite side of the map? A teleport from Doinb in the mid means he will pick up this wave, and it'll be a single turret going over to Ultra Prime. Maybe this dragon that spawns in 30 seconds, but with Ninjas in Pyjamas already recalling, it's a far cry in my opinion. Ultra Prime are just losing this game without very much grace right now.
They're getting, you know, a decent amount of gold in certain places. I feel like in general, the champions still feel solid enough to be at least on decent playing fields in a full 5v5. But the objective game has really fully belonged to Ninjas in Pyjamas at this point. They've gotten both dragons, they've gotten the Rift Herald, and now the Otacon, adding to some of the experience of the adaptive force and some of that post-death animation damage that become even more powerful as the game goes on, as we go into these 5v5 fights.
Alright, Ninjas in Pyjamas, they're going to start up this dragon now. Ryze has a flank. There is no flash on Saber, no flash on Baiye. This is going to be an incredibly tough fight for UP.
Already at 3,000, and nice use of the shield of Duran from Doinb to make sure there's no possibility for a steal. And already a big chunk onto Junhao makes this fight much harder for Ultra Prime, who are now singled out in the pit. Solar Flare only finds the clone, but the health bars are just fully on NIP's side at this point, with XiaoXia, Zhang, and Junhao chunked to below half. NIP still feel interested in going for continued play, but it looks like they will instead back away with that soul point in hand.
Alright, so we came out of the draft being like, okay, the solo laners, they can scale into this game, but we have seen absolutely no ability for Ultra Prime to contest on the objectives. 2 grubs is the only thing they've gotten for themselves, and now what they'll have to do is contest for the next 15 minutes the next 3 dragons. And hey, 3 mountain dragons is a hell of a drug, but when you're on soul point as Ninjas in Pyjamas and you already have a 2,000 gold lead in the jungle alone, I don't know how much time Ultra Prime have left, not only in this game, in the series, but also in the rest of the split. We're getting very close to the end of Group Nirvana's time here in the LPL, and while Ultra Prime are, for right now, on the bubble, anything can change, especially with Thunder Talk already taking a game off of EDG.
As well as, you know, taking the head-to-head in the first round robin against UP. That stuff's going to become more and more important, as Ultra Prime have not been able again to have taken a series against anybody other than LNG, and they've already played them twice. They don't get another chance to boost their record in that way. It's going to have to be hard-earned victories for them the rest of the way, and right now it's not looking likely against Ninjas in Pyjamas. However, still a lot of game to be played, and a lot of items still to be bought, some scaling to be done here on Ultra Prime's side, but NIP feels so good at this point in the game.
They can look for fights. I mean, you still have the TP in from Solokill if they really want it. Naiyou steals another camp, including the red buff like we saw right in front of Junhao's face. very exciting to see Naiyou back in the league. He had a little bit of time on Bear Adam last year, where we were like, okay, you know, we were kind of seeing whether or not like that would be something that kind of worked for them. Didn't end up being the case, especially with some of the performances we got out from him. But his resurgence on LGD and Split 2 was what I think bought him this spot on NIP. He was the only reason LGD really made a surge in the back half of that second split.
And it's so interesting to even think about a time where we were confused, why is Naiyou coming in? Because we thought Climber was going to be a big part of LGD's success, but Naiyou had himself brilliant 25 split number 2, getting him this opportunity to play alongside the likes of Doinb and Leave, and so far having a pretty good go of things in Group Nirvana. NIP, though, still have a little bit of work to do to close out this game, to make it a 2-0 sweep over Ultra Prime. The Baron has now spawned, so NIP could try to turn towards that, but I think they feel comfortable enough just clearing out waves and forcing Ultra Prime to maybe make a mistake before they start that out.
As an LPL fan, and especially as a Ninjas in Pyjamas fan, I need this 2-0 like water, bro. I need this now. Like, there's no reason my team is splitting games with LGD and Ultra Prime. Let's just be fair. Like, we win 3 games versus TT twice in the last week. Unacceptable for a team of this caliber.
Yeah.
So I need to see Ninjas Pyjamas tighten up, because you're going to be facing off more than likely with this win up against a Group Ascend team going into the play-ins. And we saw what that looked like already. If they're going to have any chance of potentially contesting a team like FPX, JDG, or Weibo, they need to show better games.
And when you think about just the standings and how that plays a role as well, in Group Ascend right now, you have teams like FPX and WE. Those 2 teams specifically really have struggled, and so being a top 2 team out of Nirvana continues to just be more and more important to potentially get yourself that favorable matchup. NIP likely in position to claim one of those spots if they can continue this level of play. Got to make sure they continue to pick up wins in order to get that opportunity. Maybe even a rematch against FPX.
That would be legendary. Milky Way versus the boys would be very fun, but
wow, yeah.
Still, I mean, Dragon spawns in 30. We've got Baron here. A single ward from Ultra Prime is maybe ruining some of the pizzazz that Ninja Pyjamas wanted. They'll get rid of it now. And a couple of options. Do they go for what is the objective win here, which is just going to be them taking the soul, or do they move into this Baron, which they have plenty of options to be able to take either?
They don't need to really force anything right now for NIP, which is why they have not started hitting it. Instead, just going for
What the
a
hell?
bit of a bait. However, XiaoXia just decides to start the fight for them, and the public execution from Solokill is going to allow him to 1v1 Baiye on the back line. Already a 3-0, but Zhang and Saber are still alive. Realm Warp getting popped by the Rise to allow him to escape, but it'll be the rest of the team falling by his side. A 4-for-2 overall, as NIP's top side will march towards the Dragon to pick up the soul.
That's the soul. God damn it, XiaoXia. That was such a close engage, but no one else is there. There's no Realm Warp from Saber to set this up. Baiye gets completely soloed out by this Mbessa. A great team fight on 2 different fronts there, coming in from Ninjas in Pyjamas, and exactly the kind of teamwork that I needed to see as we close out this series. Now with a 3,000 gold lead, we check back at this replay. Look at where his damage dealers are. Aatrox is in a Raptor pit right now.
In a way, I respect it because it immediately places the ward, sees
I know.
carry singled out, and is like, all right, well, let's go for it. But you have to take into account like basically any other part of the game situation. And sure, they do take lead down, but it costs them a whole lot.
It doesn't even matter. Like, the AD carry dies, who cares? He's still going to have soul. And guess what? We check back into the picture-in-picture right now. Ultra Prime need to do a Desperation Baron attempt, but NIP are already back out.
Already have the soul in hand as well, locking up Saber, forcing him to go golden, but Baiye actually taking down Niket to start the fight off. Ultra Prime don't want to play for the finish, they want to play for the fight now that it's a 4v5, with Doinb teleporting in, dashing forward, forcing Baiye to flash away. XiaoXia becoming the target, he gets taken down by Leave, and now it can become Reset City for Naiyou. He jumps in, using that Heartbreaker to try to find another one. A public execution on Baiye will shut him down once more. And now it's Saber running the wrong way, away from NIP, but right into their own base. He will get taken down eventually, whether it's by the turret or by Solokill himself. It looks like actually Saber will be able to send him on a wild goose chase far enough, while the rest of NIP will take the Baron down.
Alright, boys, let's close this game out now. Baron, Dragon buff, the soul there. Saber even has to use the Realm Warp to get out. It is not meaningful. The solo lanes, in particular the mid lane, we thought that this Rise was going to have such more of an impact, but the lanes have not been going well. We've not been seeing them trade on the map. Junhao is fighting for his life and is getting another one of his jungle camps taken away.
He's just sitting by the side of while he's watching just the entirety of his jungle getting taken away by not just Naiyou, but now Solokill getting involved as well. Gold League going quickly from 2,000 to 6 as we get another look at how this Baron fight unfolded.
Niket walks forward, so he's the first one to die. As we had noted, no Galileo ult during all of this, even with Doinb TPing. So having a little bit of a mistake there, obviously, but there are cooldowns coming up off of their timers here. If Doinb and the rest of NIP could slow the fight down, that'll give them the time that they need. The Baron also hitting all the Ultra Prime was definitely not what they wanted. This is just them kind of swinging some of their gold around at their opponents, and that dive that we had talked about, especially this Ambessa, makes it very difficult for Ultra Prime's carries to do much.
Even Baiye, who, you know, now at 3 items on the Aphelios, could be scary, but not scary enough at this point. There's a Baron buff in NIP's hands for the next 2 minutes time. They're going to start cracking open these structures, break open the base, and try to put an end to this series in 2-0 fashion. Look at this, level 17, 3 levels ahead of Baiye at this point, as this Saber really has come online. Finishing touches soon to come on the bottom side of the map.
Nice shot from the picture-in-picture to show us that Baiye, no flash, no cleanse.
Oh, just Baiye has no chance at this point. Crowd control lock to Oblivion, and then making a double kill, going over to the Viego, who is now 9-0-6. Not the 11-0 just yet that we saw in Game 3. But Naiyou on this champion going to continue to be a problem on NIP's side. Ultra Prime with one last-ditch effort to save the game. Not going to find any sort of success at this point. Niket dashes forward with another Zenith Blade, and this should be it. The Nexus has been broken open in NIP with a much cleaner series this time around. Now Solokill gets himself a double. The Nexus will be exposed. Those KD is going to get padded. Leave gets himself another, and it'll be a 2-0 over Ultra Prime for NIP.
20-8 is the final kill score there. Shenzhen, the fans, can be a little bit proud about their team being able to find a win today. And a dominant one, all things considered. Finally, a 2-0 that we can kind of put in our cap as the NIP. They have not been able to find too many 2-0s this season, only against LNG in their very first series of Group Nirvana. So glad to see that the boys are starting to peak, but still a lot of work to do as we close out Nirvana.
And again, for NIP, the question has been how consistently can you string these wins together? You know, dropping random games here or there, making these small mistakes, not going to hurt you as much if your strength of schedule is a little bit weaker like it is here in Group Nirvana. But if NIP want to have the opportunity to move on to those higher levels of competition, to take on a team like FPX or WE in the play-in stage, and even move beyond that, facing off against your Wavos, your JDGs, your IGs, etc., for one of those potential world spots, they're going to have to play clean League of Legends a lot more often, and we finally did see some of that here in this series.
Very exciting. Also, with that win, as we teased halfway through the show, Ninja's Pyjamas now at 6-1, cannot drop below the lowest standing, at least in 4th right now, which would be Ultra Prime at 2-4, 2-5 now. So Ninja's Pyjamas have bought themselves a spot in the playoffs here, at least for a play-in series against our Group Ascend team. So exciting to watch it. Definitely much deserved as we close out Split 3.
And for Ultra Prime, you know, a lot of those same problems still kind of coming to fruition, getting caught out at the wrong time, not having a ton of fun, I would say, just in general.
Oh, yeah.
Zhang had himself, again, a respectable series, but really never came to play in any of these team fights. But I find it hard to blame him just because the rest of the team fell pretty far behind early on.
Yeah, Zhang and Junhao had a very rough series, not because of what necessarily they did, but the team just collapsing in general. I think the play in mid lane was a huge difference. Even if Doinb mechanically made some errors, we got to see that the wealth of, you know, knowledge and veterancy that a player like Doinb is going to have versus Saber really shone through in this series. And all things considered, I mean, Baiye was able to hold his own for what was happening in the bottom lane versus Leave.
And again, you know, there's things you can look at, like the things that you mentioned, and say, okay, Ultra Prime, they have some stuff that they can look at towards improvement, you know, for the rest of the season. The rest of the season might be just 3 more series if they do not continue to tighten things up and do it quickly. We are quickly reaching that panic zone for a team like Ultra Prime if they want to keep their season alive, if they want to get a chance to qualify into that play-in stage. And again, with their only wins being up against LNG, at least in terms of series score, they're facing off against ThunderTalk, EDG, and LGD. None of them are going to be super easy opponents for them. They're going to have to really earn it to get a spot in that top 4.
I honestly, though, the ADG series, you know, probably doomed, but if there was ever a time for Ultra Prime to find the Omega upset of doom, that would be it. But the LGD one in particular, them and ThunderTalk, we have to expect that they're going to be willing to go the distance in those series. Only 2 2-0s in their entire time here in split number 3. One against EDG, and here today against Ninjas of Pyjamas. So, need to see more competitive games. It seems like we are getting better and better games and series from Baiye and the rest of this team. But when is it too late here, Grapes? When is it, has it not been enough, and maybe some of the changes came too late or not soon enough?
I mean, it's starting to look like it could be a little bit on the later side. But as, you know, Group Nirvana is starting to really take shape in terms of our expectations and the placements and where we put our foldy sheets going into things, it looks like it will be UP, ThunderTalk, and EDG and LGD fighting for 2 of those last play-in spots. One of them is going to be left out, obviously. It looks like at this point Ultra Prime is on the outside looking in, but they have a chance to change their own fate by taking either one or both of those series.
If they take both of those series, they're for sure locked in, obviously. And who knows? LNG, they have series versus ThunderTalk and NIP, so they can still kind of mess with some of the standings there as alongside EDG. I don't know why I keep praying for an EDG downfall, even though I'm with Mark on this one. I was really looking forward to their completely flawless record going into Group Nirvana. And for Ninjas of Pyjamas, this was not a very difficult test. And a lot of Group Nirvana hasn't been that for both this team and EDG. So my wonder is more of what we were talking about during the pre-show, which was, do we think that NIP have made tangible, real changes towards improving their game? Maybe. Now that they have had more time, I think Leave has played a little bit better, but some of our AD carries in Group Ascent are going to be pushing them in the lane, so I need to see them playing a little sharper.
And, you know, when you talk about a player like Naiyou as well, who I feel like definitely a strong candidate to win the MVP for this game.
Oh,
just
yeah.
having a player of his, you know, style who is able to, you know, whip out these carries and become very effective on them versus somebody like Aki who had to be more of a facilitator. It just gives a lot of agency to Doinb as well to kind of make some plays on his own, to not have to be a primary damage dealer. I think it gives a lot of flexibility for how NIP are able to play the game, how they're able to draft. I really like the addition of both Naiyou and Niket to this NIP roster. It looks better and better as we continue to go throughout this season.
Naiyou looks standout and is a heartbreaker to watch when you are, if you are an LGD fan. Not very many out in the audience, but still, to see that team of rookies really suffer and kind of have to persevere through a Group Nirvana just hurts. But exciting stuff, I think, as a Leaf fan. I'm happy for today. I'm not pleased, but I'm satisfied we were able to pick up some wins.
As there's your MVP going over towards Naiyou. Now 20-1. 21-21, I think, overall. In terms of KDA on Viego this split, just a monster, especially when it comes against Ultra Prime. Has clinched series on this champion 2 times against UP, sending them to a 2-5 record and sending NIP up to 6-1. That does it for our Group Nirvana coverage for today, but don't go anywhere. We're about to get on up into Group Ascend with our second and final series